Thanks for watching the Fanatic Sports Channel.
Welcome to the NBA playoff previews, guys. I'm going to be doing the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we are locked in. I'm going to get short and right to the point. The Thunder have looked good all year this year. They looked about as good as they did in 2016 when they took the Golden State Warriors 7 games. They could have won just one more game in 6 or 7, and they would have gone to the finals. So they absolutely could have gone to the finals with KD and Westbrook. But KD decided to leave and go to Golden State and win 2 straight titles with them, pretty much untouched. Westbrook took over and began putting up video game stats pretty much every single game, and eventually this didn't lead to as much winning as he wanted, as in the playoffs he was often one-dimensional. But then they got Paul George, and Paul George has been doing really, really good, and that's where we are now. Well, there was a little Carmelo spell, and that didn't go great, but Paul George has taken over the team. He is an MVP candidate this year for sure. The Thunder's chemistry problems, though, it's not as severe as maybe the Celtics are, because the Celtics are pretty much a roller coaster. And if you haven't seen my playoff preview for the Celtics, go check out that for sure after this video. I've talked about that, and it does exist for the Thunder, though, and it starts and ends with Russell Westbrook. They have a problem with Russell Westbrook. It's not a huge problem. I'm not going to engage in hyperbole like the sports media does with Westbrook. He'll never win a title with that way. All this stuff that you hear. It's a bunch of crap. Yes, he does hog the ball. He gets tunnel vision sometimes. But this problem only manifests itself sometimes at the end of games. And a lot of times, it has to do with stats. And I hate to say that to him because I do love Westbrook, but he needs to know that the ball belongs in Paul George's hands in those moments, especially in late time situations where you need a bucket or you lose the game. That needs to go to Paul George. That's his specialty. He gets tunnel vision early in the games, and sometimes that helps. That'll lead to steals, that'll lead to good defense, that'll lead to fast break points, all these things that to keep them in the game, to keep them going. But in late in games, if you have tunnel vision, it's easy for you to be manipulated. It really is. Now for the negatives of that fully, he openly claims that he's deferring to Paul George late in games, but when it comes down to doing it, lately, the last week or so, maybe 2 weeks, Westbrook doesn't defer. And it has happened more recently, and it is a problem. Going into the playoffs, when Westbrook doesn't defer to to Paul George, they might lose their seeding. They might go from like a 3rd seed to an 8th seed. That's a huge, huge problem. And Paul George was in the MVP discussion before Westbrook started becoming a ball hog and shooting more. Shooting more than 18 times a game is usually when their percentage of winning goes down. So basically, yeah, it's what I said. Westbrook is they can either make them win or he can make them lose. Westbrook is the ultimate catalyst on that team. The team goes and falls with they either succeed or fail with Russell Westbrook. And he isn't concerned with glory and winning as much as he is concerned with setting records. And that is a problem.
Did the Jazz win this one?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
But will this change in the playoffs? It absolutely could. It absolutely could. Westbrook could be, he could just change, all right, I'm all about winning now. I don't care if I have 4 assists and 18 points and 30 rebounds, or no rebounds and 20 assists. Like, that's what his mentality needs to be. He needs to just focus on getting buckets, on winning the game, and setting up Paul George. That's all he needs to do. I talk about it in my Now or Never Russell Westbrook video. It doesn't have near as many views as I think it should. You guys should check that out, also on the Fanatic Sports channel. But the Thunder's team is a machine. And what do I mean by that? I mean it works really well. We have Dennis Schroeder off the bench, who plays a similar game to Westbrook, but he can also knock down shots consistently. You got Jeremy Grant, who can knock down shots. He can do all types of stuff, actually. Jeremy Grant is turning into a solid all-around player. He's kind of like Lamar Odom with less passing skills, I would argue. And between George and Steven Adams and Westbrook, they have so much star power. I mean, Adams is the dominant player. He can go for 20-20 pretty often if he has a good matchup. So Paul George, he's amazing. He's pretty much brought everything that KD brought to the team. Not everything. I mean, KD and Westbrook were a pretty amazing combo, but he has brought a lot to that team. And that's what I'm watching for. I'm watching for, can Westbrook discipline himself and trust in the game plan and trust in his teammates and just worry about high IQ plays and making the right play. Don't worry about making the awesome shot or making the amazing dunk or getting back at someone who's talking back at you, because that's seriously what he's worried about all the time. He's worried about stats. He's worried about pettiness. He's worried about trying to prove people wrong. He's arguing with fans. He's arguing, and I know that there was some racism in that situation. But my whole point is he's too emotional. In the playoffs, you gotta turn the tunnel vision on in a different way. Your tunnel vision needs to be just winning. Like Kobe would just turn that on. He didn't care what it needed to take. I mean, he's had his bad moments too in the playoffs, but Kobe has 5 rings. Westbrook has none. He needs to get it done. It's now or never for Westbrook. He is already 30 years old. He's an older man. Like those knees are not gonna hold up forever. He's not gonna be able to jump like that forever. He's not gonna be able to run like that forever. His body will break down. It doesn't matter how athletic you are. You need to be disciplined. You need to be a better point guard. You need not worry about stats. You need to just win and set up Paul George. But I think he can do it, and honestly, I'm kind of a fan. Like, I'm not gonna lie with you guys. I kind of want them to do it. Like, this is a little bit weird for me because it's like the other previews, I'm just like, all right, this is what it is, and this is what it is. Like, I hope Westbrook does this. I want Westbrook to focus, and because he has so much talent, and if he just channels his talent into his mentality, he can do it. He has all the capabilities. He can totally win a championship. He needs Paul George, though. He needs to set up Paul George. He needs to focus on getting Paul George the ball. All right, everybody, have a good day. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. And I always subscribe back.
Bringing that to this team. Great thing about it is we got already. We'll step this way. We'll step this way. We'll step this way. Y'all gotta go through the concourse. Y'all gotta go through the concourse.
Up the stairs and around, guys. You go up the stairs and around.
That's just for you, Russ.
Yeah, I got you. Anything you need.
You don't really let Russ push you around all the time.
Man, hey, that's the man that's giving me easy looks. So whatever makes him happy, I'm happy.